Association, they're a big player in preventing heart attacks, and then Office of Emergency Medical Services, that's what governs paramedics and EMTs in this state. They got together about 10 years ago, and they decided to designate heart-safe communities. In other words, recognize the efforts put in place. And basically that is that it's early recognition of heart attack, and then placing systems in place to get the trained personnel, and more importantly, actually, defibrillators. They're called AEDs now, automatic external defibrillators. They're basically a machine that, with very minimal training, you turn the button on and they tell you what to do. And put the pads here and here, okay, don't touch the patient. Oh, it's a shockable heart rhythm, press shock. One thing that we know from 35 years of doing resuscitation is that most adults, when they go into cardiac arrest, sudden cardiac arrest, they go into what's called ventricular fibrillation, which basically is a rhythm that this machine will correct. The problem is, and this is how HeartSafe was developed, the problem is that for every minute that you're not given that electrical shock, your survivability decreases by 10%. The best fire departments, police departments in the world, it's going to be a minute or two, at least. So now you're at 80%. If it's 3 minutes from when your heart stops beating, you're at a 70%. You see where I'm going with that. So the average response time, 3 to 5 minutes, you have a 50% chance of surviving. When you get this heart-safe community designation, you put the controls into place to deliver the fastest defibrillation to these people, which we have here. We have defibrillators in the strategic places that they require in the town. They're on the frontline fire apparatus. I know they're on the frontline police apparatus. And we get the defib there quickly. So that's what this designation is all about. And it's about training, making public awareness, which we've been doing forever. Deputy Chief Himmel is in charge of that with the CPR in the department. And we've been doing that for years. So it was a great honor to get this. Thank you. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, just like we do training for CPR, we bring training out to the community. Part of our mission statement is fire, EMS, community education. And we brought training to the offices here. There's a defibrillator mounted, and we train staff how to run it. The same with the schools, the same with some of the other locations of them. And the whole idea is to get someone to the defibrillator fast that's trained, that can bring the cardiac arrest under control. Get the VFib into a more usable, livable rhythm. So far it's working. So this is just a recognition from OEMS that you did a good job. Thanks. Any other questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Anyone have any other comments or questions? Yes, Diana?
I would like to say thank you to these gentlemen's families. They give up a lot. These guys work more than a 9-to-5 job. Their families don't see much of them. And there's one wife sitting here.
It's the only time she gets
My
to
wife
see
thanks
them.
you too.
And, it's no different than a serviceman's family. And, they deserve a thank you and an appreciation. And when you go home tonight, tell your wives and your families that we appreciate everything that they give up for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes she's happy to see me go.
That's just because she knows you.
Budget and new initiatives, Bob.
Okay, you have your new initiative sheet. You have a copy of the budget at the page 9. You'll see that we have $47,411 in unallocated funds. We had a lot more, but within the last 2 weeks, we have received our assessment from Monty Tech, which, as you know, went up $97,000. And we received our new health insurance rate, which is an increase of 7.9% on the base, which is another $78,000. So you put those two numbers together, and it really makes a significant dent in the revenue that we have available for some of the requests that department heads have made. That said, there are some smaller items here that the board may may choose to fund. So this is really the wrap-up of the budget
Right.
process. Since you last saw this chart, I made 2 changes. The Cultural Council sent in a late request for $1,000 so that they could resume some of the work that they did in the past. And also Diane requested that I add $1,500 to the tree warden's budget. Given that we have seen a number of accidents in Massachusetts in the last couple of months where tree limbs, dead tree limbs, have fallen on people. And I think they've killed 5 people in the Commonwealth in the last couple of months. So clearly that indicates that we need to address any dead limbs and dead trees that we have along the right-of-way to ensure that it's less likely to happen. So,
Do we have any idea now as to what our condition is in terms of, do we have a lot of needed tree work here that,
Yes, we do. There's still a lot of tall trees out there that are dead and dangerous. Earlier this season, the highway crew, we went out, we started a program of removing some trees. We're still working on it. We'll get back to it after we're done with spring cleanup. But there are numerous amounts of trees around. Some of them are to the height that we'd have to hire a company to come in with a tall bucket truck. We have a bucket truck. We can only reach so high with ours, and it requires a taller unit to get up there to remove the tree, to make it manageable so that we can handle the rest of it. We patrol the roads, myself, the foreman, we're constantly looking at trees during a heavy windstorm, after a heavy windstorm, to see if a tree or a limb has become compromised with that storm. So we're constantly monitoring it. You know, it's all over TV that things are going down. So we're you know, that's why lately a lot of people see me driving, and I'm driving a lot of the same roads over and over. I'm looking for, you know, trees that have been compromised with the winds. So we're staying on top of it. We, this last couple of 3 weeks, we've had some trees come down, and an employee was called in to remove it off the road. You know, some of them we can't dictate when they're gonna come down. There's a lot of factors that bring it down, but we're staying on top of it best we can. And we have compiled a list, by the way.
Okay,
We have an ongoing list of trees that need immediate attention and attention in some other ways.
well, I think too it's important if, as we were discussing, that once you get up there really high, it's better to have people who do that for a living than trying to have our workers do it where necessarily they might not have the safety equipment or the knowledge or whatever to do it.
We do, just so that you're aware, we do have all the proper safety equipment, and not anybody gets up in our bucket truck. Right now, we only have 2 people that go up that have experience in the bucket truck. When you're up there 55, 60 feet in the air, you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know how to fall the tree and how to fall the branch, and so safety is number 1. We have a guy up in a bucket truck, we have probably about 6 or 8 eyes watching him to make sure that he's not in trouble or any damage is gonna happen to our equipment or personnel. So we're very cautious. And some of us have been doing it a very long time.
Well, there's one who once felled the tree across his chest. I can appreciate that.
I can understand that.
Break your sternum?
Yes.
You need to address him as chairman, please.
Sorry. Just not really.
No, yours
I think
was
it's
worse
probably
than
good-
mine.
Probably a good thing to point out that $1,500, we see it as a lot of money, it won't take care of one tree. You could probably put 10,000 in that account. If you didn't use it, you didn't use it, but it's there if you need it. You
It's
know, I,
To bring a company in, it's about $1,000 a day.
Yeah.
And depending on what the size of the tree is and whether the trees are on the same road or if they gotta, mobilize over to different streets, that all takes time, but when they go on the clock in the morning, it's about $1,000 a day. So currently, we already have let me think what we had this year, $1,500, and then if Bob's applying another $1,500 to it for fiscal 17,
I think that's what I have.
so.
I think that, and I wrote to the both of you after, really looking at the budget too, and knowing that we could only do some of the small stuff, I think that this is a budget that needs to be added to and not taken away from. So this is a start, and I don't think it's a lot of money based on what I've seen in other communities, and, it's not enough, and there are things that we've had to do away with. Same thing that I said for the Board of Health about the well monitoring. There's just some stuff that we're gonna have to work towards bringing it back, because it's a safety for the entire community too. So I think it's, for now, I think it's a good place to start. What was the budget before? I'm sorry.
Remember, the department was zeroed out a few
Yeah,
years ago.
so now you're-
We got it up to 5, and if you're
Now
gonna
it's
go
at
another
65.
1,500, that'll be 6,500, so it's
Yeah,
not cheap.
I just think it's something we have to really work on, so, and that way we can, we need to have it. I think the list, is that a list that we could see?
Yeah, we could-
Please,
yeah, we
and
can
thank
get-
you, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it over
Thank
to
you.
Bob and get it.
Well, I think we're all in
Yeah,
agreement on this one.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so.
I'd like to see the list.
Yeah,
I'd be
Yeah.
interested in seeing the list as well.
yeah.
Are you looking, with the list, are you looking for what street the trees are on?
Yeah, just like, what do you have for a
Pretty much,
list? I
they
mean,
don't
not,
have numbers on
I'm
it,
not gonna,
so-
I don't wanna go looking at tree for tree, but it would just be nice to know,
Okay,
like where,
Yeah, I'll give you some
That's all.
street names,
nothing for, just to
because
see.
you pretty much have to take a ride and look on
I
the
just
street.
made you that.
So it's agreed that you're
Well, I
gonna
think
add
Yeah,
we're all
I
in
think
1,500?
agreement
that's
on
agreed, yeah.
that.
All right,
Brings
are
it down to
you,
45,900.
are you
Okay, now
saying
what-
you don't wanna do this? Because I think that,
Well, I mean,
all right,
just a
well,
big
how do
ticket-
you
big ticket thing.
wanna go, through this? I mean,
Well,
do you have I have a bunch of line items here that I
do I
have.
have that?
No, they're notes.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we're talking totally $47,000 roughly?
47,411.
Okay,
If you
Well,
fund
I think
$1,500 here,
let's-
you're down to 45,911.
okay. Now, I think we were all in agreement previously about the cemetery and parks assistant.
Everybody seemed to say that they wanted to do that.
I don't think
too.
we had any objections
No,
For-
we didn't, we were all. in
For the
agreement.
admin,
for the admin assistant on
and we
cemetery
can
and
do the
parks.
season? Okay.
Mhm.
Now, Bob, what do you recommend on snow and ice? What do you recommend in here?
I think we just hold
Leave
the
it.
line for now. If we had money, I would like to add 25,000, but,
Yeah, well, we can't cut it, we know
no,
that.
we can't cut it, but we can,
Leave it.
So
What
we
did you
can-
say,
We can
Diane?
level fund it.
Cemetery and what?
Well, definitely the admin. Are you talking both cemetery positions?
I was
Because,
talking the admin assistant.
okay, I didn't know if you
Because I think we
said,
had consensus on that.
we had
one.
consensus on the admin assistant, right?
Right.
Is Julie, right? Do we have a,
I actually would support both the
okay.
seasonal worker and the admin assistant.
I,
with the
Just-
admin assistant, you're down to
They've been-
39,354.
Thank you. Okay. Can we come back to that one after we do some of the, just because there's also the BOS
Alright.
stuff, and that kind of
Alright.
zeroes some stuff out. The well monitoring,
yeah.
I think that, I don't know, I've talked a lot to Lori about some of that, and I think that these are things that each department has foregone, but I think we should not forego that. It has to do with mosquito control, and we've had some, this year's not gonna be any better than what happened last year, and I think that we need to do it. I think that we need to keep up with that. And that's something, that budget was zeroed out also.
Well, yeah, I
before.
think that is, those health functions, you're playing Russian roulette.
Yeah, we are, yeah,
Yeah,
okay. Do we,
well.
is
I don't know.
that good?
What do you
Is
think?
that something
I,
you,
I totally agree
Okay.
with that, yeah.
so we can check that off?
So we're adding 3,500 for well monitoring. That brings the total to 35,854.
Okay, so the next one is, the town clerk, and, that request was 13,841, but I had written to, I spoken to Carol, and I had written to Bob about not doing 40 and leaving it at 35, but doing, an increase to make her more in line with some of the others, and the bill would be, 7,308 and be a $4 an hour increase. It wouldn't bring her quite there, but I think for now, to be able to accommodate some of that, and that we need to accommodate some other, that was my suggestion. I don't know if you guys have something else, but, so that would be 7,308, but at 35 hours.
7,308.
Yeah, so bring her closer in line, but,
All right, let's let that one fester a bit.
okay. And
I'm sorry, I
then,
didn't hear that.
he wants to let that one fester.
Fester, okay.
Let's see where we are here.
So the next one is town buildings maintenance, to increase from 5 to 10 hours. I think my vote at the moment would be no, to just leave that. I said that if you wanted somebody to clean and the employees didn't want, I'd be happy to
Yeah.
volunteer one day a week.
Well, might get lynched tomorrow for saying this. but
Sorry.
I think we can live without this. I mean, I think, it's nice to
I'll
have
clean.
some custodial services here. We have 5 hours a week. Like to have some more, because there's other things that need to get done, but I personally wouldn't make that
A priority,
a higher priority. Have money at the end, yes.
okay.
Because we are investing in the building, and we do need to maintain it, so.
Any thoughts on that?
All right,
I'm with you on that one.
0?
Zero. I wouldn't.
0?
on the,
Custodian?
okay.
I asked, did you have any thoughts on that, John? Did you, sign language? Sorry, did you want to borrow my hearing aids? Jeez.
Well, they told us when we were young that if we listened to the Rolling Stones that loud, we'd go deaf, so.
So I'm asking if you agree with the 0. Or do-
Given the breadth of where we have to spread out the $47,000, I think we really don't have a choice here.
Okay. The next one is treasurer, collector, clerk, to increase the match wage. Out of fairness, it'd be $892, and I think that we should do that.
I think that's
Fair.
very important for
Yeah.
fairness purposes. This individual has been employed longer than some others in comparable positions who are earning a higher wage. This is $892 to
All
square
right,
that
you
away.
sold me on that one.
Yeah, okay.
The next one was the cemetery and parks, but we are skipping over that at the moment, and then the admin. And then the cultural council asked for 1,000, and you recommend yes for that, Bob?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yay? Nay?
Yay.
Yes? Okay.
Not much money, and you get,
So the one after that is highway salaries for 31.5 for both a mechanic and a laborer.
well, he wanted a combined position at 31.5, and if you recall, he did ask for 2, but he combined it into one
One.
position at 31.5. We now have 33,962.
I would reconsider on that proposal until possibly next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
I'll sit with the chief because there's just some other things you need.
Okay,
All right,
so that's his, okay.
what about the fuel?
Snow and ice, we weren't gonna do, and then the
Live without
fuel
the
for
fuel.
31, did you, 31,000?
I think fuel prices are going to remain reasonable for most of the year, if not all of it. So
Okay.
I think we should be cognizant that we might be a little short there and have to add funds for fuel during the year. But
No.
again, I wouldn't give that priority over some of the other issues here.
Okay, so can I say that we gave the advisory board $50,000 in this last fiscal year, and I believe we've used how much?
I haven't asked for any funds.
0. So I would like to lower that to 30, to 30, and then maybe there's like 20 if we needed some fuel, or, so I'm just throwing that out there. You don't have to say yea or nay to that right now, I'm just saying.
Do we have any, in terms of the reserve fund for the last few years, have we used it or utilized it much at all? or-
The year
At the
before
very
we
end of the
did.
year, in fiscal
The year before.
14, we took everything. At the very end of the year, we took some of it at the end of 15. We didn't have any situations where departments had to go to
Last
the
year they
advisory
did.
board and ask for money, maybe a few $1,000. But most of it was there at the end of the year when it, like all the other accounts, were scooped.
Yeah.
This year, as I said, none of the department heads have gone to the advisory board because they've all, so far, managed within their budgets. However, we did receive notice today that this whole process that keeps going with the reconstruction of our financial records may need additional funds, will need additional funds, and although I don't know what we'll have at this point at the end of the fiscal year, that might be one source at the end of the year to continue the funding for that effort, which is crucial.
Mr. Spring, you want to add anything to this discussion?
We have a different perspective on the budget than you folks. So, I mean, we have a lot of questions that have been passed on to you as selectmen as well as the administrator. Until we get those answers, I don't think
But how about
As far as
the reserve
the
fund?
reserve fund basically has been used at the end of the year and has been depleted just about every year.
But I think the key here is that we haven't had free cash for a couple of years, and we will have free cash certified, but we will have another source of available funds should we need them.
Well, I guess that depends on what that free cash would be used for, and,
Well, to use it, you have to go to town meeting, but at least
Right.
there is a source of funds there that's not available right now. The money's there, but we can't use it till it's certified. And once we get the audits done, we will have free cash certified, which
but
probably.
do you still think that we've done a really good job budgeting, and that the departments
Well,
have
we
not
have, we
had to
have.
ask? So I'm just saying that, in my opinion,
Yeah,
to have, if there's other greater needs somewhere else,
yeah.
is all I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying is that we could survive, or we can lower the reserve fund because we have another source of
Oh.
available funds.
Okay.
We good on that?
Moving on.
Moving on.
Thank you for moving on.
Could I have a question, actually a statement. The money for the advisory board is an emergency reserve fund. It's for emergencies. And from year to year, you never know what's going to happen. And having been sitting as a selectman for a number of years, anything and everything can happen.
Sure.
And will happen. So I think it's premature at this point to cut the emergency reserve fund from 50 to 30,000. Free cash is not certified. You don't know when it will be certified. So you can't really count on that money
Mhm.
to back up if there is an emergency situation. And to call a town meeting to get a vote to use free cash is a timely process. It takes a lot of time. And emergencies usually don't have that kind of time.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
We are down to 28,154.
Okay, so although I think that,
What was your number, Bob?
28,154.
Did I miss something? I'm
You
at
may not have added
33,962.
in the 7308 that was discussed relative to the town clerk.
Okay, I'm good.
all right, so we're at
So the
28.
next one was the police officer, which sadly we cannot do.
Well, I just had a thought on that.
Yep.
I was wondering, what is the possibility of a part-time police officer? Is that feasible for you, chief, or?
Part-time police officer would be approximately $32,000 funded for the year, which is a good idea, and if the money hadn't gotten so low, I was gonna suggest that. The only problem with that is dependability on having the part-timer show up for the shift all the time. And then we would have to decide whether or not we're gonna fill the shift with a full-time guy, which would eat up the budget on overtime, or if we're just gonna run the shift short, so.
Let me just bring up the revolving fund again. If we're able to get the town meeting to agree on a revolving fund for veterans' benefits, and if it works, we find it works well, the town will not have to fund $90,000 to $100,000 for veterans' benefits next year, because we will use the reimbursements that come in next year in the same year. I don't think we should do anything now, but if we are able to convince people to go along with this, and if it works well for us, perhaps in the fall, we could take
Yeah,
some
we
of
could
those.
adjust it.
Right, take some of and make some adjustments in the fall to accommodate some of the other needs here. But, I think we should certainly look at all sides of this. I've asked town council to review it. I am told that other communities are doing it. I've asked for examples from other communities. But I think if we're capable of making this work, then the need for us to take our local funds and fund it all up front goes away. And we only have to fund, in effect, about a quarter of the budget, not 100%. So I think we can be prudent about this. Let's see if, first of all, we can get the approval of the town meeting, and secondly, see if it's going to work well for us. And then if it does, then we can perhaps reorient some of those funds. It's a big chunk of money.
Would you check with DOR to make sure that they're on board with this?
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah. I've had discussions with them
Yeah.
I had discussions with the DOR director at the MMA annual meeting. I said, we have two statutes that we have to obey that are in conflict. We must pay veterans' benefits to those who are eligible and entitled. That's a state statute. We must not go into deficit on our budget. We can't deficit spend in that account. And we can't deny the benefit. And so if we don't hit the budget on the nose, which is nearly impossible in the circumstances we now have with so many soldiers coming back from the Middle East, as you can see, our budget not only went to 90,000 this year, we just appropriated 50 more at the special town meeting. So it's ballooning. And being able to pinpoint or even come close to what we need, I think is out of the question.
Well, what I'm concerned about is, I haven't seen the revolving fund used for something like this before. I just want to be sure that they're okay with it.
Okay. I'll make sure.
All right, so we're gonna go through, no, we're down to COA.
Yeah, the 11 additional hours for elder family services. And I think based on everything that Diana has spoken about, just, she can't do all that, and it's not feasible. I think we should fund that.
That's the 7803.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
I think it's critical for them at this point to do that. So if we agree on that, then that brings it to what?
20,351 if we fund 7803.
So the next line down was 20 and a half hour, additional hours for the activity coordinator, but,
Which I took off the.
oh, thank
Did
you.
I was gonna say, you took
Yeah,
that off,
you know,
'cause I would say no to that.
Okay, thank you. So we'll have to talk about that. And then restoring the, no, that's off, the veteran sorry, where are we at? That's,
Yeah, that's not necessary either.
to restore the veteran okay, so that's a 0.
I'm gonna abstain.
And then the library salaries, both the library director and the library staff, they are underfunded. I've heard that from them on more than one occasion, so that, I would say yes to that.
All right,
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, so both of those items would bring us to, she can't participate in this part of the
Okay.
conversation at all.
You should declare rule of necessity. So-
Okay, so I declare, I can't do that. Who declares the rule of necessity? There's only me and you.
well, yeah, so
Excuse me.
explain what the rule of necessity is.
Thank you.
If members of an elected board who are about to make decision have conflicts as defined in the ethics statutes and interpreted by the Ethics Commission, they have to recuse themselves from the vote, meaning that they have, for example, a close relative, a blood relative, who works in a particular department. One of our selectmen has a relative who works at the library, so she has recused herself from voting on this, which is what the State Ethics Commission recommends. Well, then you can get down to less than a quorum. And so if you have less than a quorum, the so-called rule of necessity means you just declare it, and then less than a quorum can take action. So you can do it, just, you know.
All right.
Is there some special vote that has?
No, it's just, it is a necessity for the government to function for less than a quorum to make these decisions. And by just saying we have a rule of necessity in effect here, then you can go ahead and make the decisions.
All right, so that brings us down to, if I'm right,
If
recreation.
we-
So we're doing 3011?
So the upgrade for the library director, are you saying yes to that? Are you saying yes to the upgrade for the library staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's, brings it down to
then-
2, 7,
We already said yes to tree warden, and now we're at.
14,613.
So, and then the recreation salaries, and to 3,720.
Yeah, I would like to see that. We gutted them
Yep.
actually down to nothing 2 years ago.
Yeah, we did. But they're making a little bit of a comeback here. We gave them some money last year. We did. We made,
I say we fund them.
we restored them, if you recall, restored them last year.
$200? Was that the?
But,
They
but
got insurance.
I know everybody supports recreation, but they requested 8,000.
Do with the tree warden.
They're currently, I'm sorry, they requested 12,280. The funding right now stands at 8,560, which is far superior to the 0 in 2015. So,
Okay.
but I mean, adding more would give them, I would assume the budget, I didn't do the math here, but that gets them to the budget that they've requested,
Okay.
and which means they'll be able to conduct more programming, so.
So you're saying yes?
I would.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that,
Down to
Leaves-
10,008.
How much?
10,008.
Okay, so we let the cemetery part fester, and we also skipped over the Board of Selectmen salaries. And I think,
I can do some, remember we have in the budgets some funding for raises. We can do some of the,
okay, but what I was gonna say also is, I know that Alan's always saying, you know, we said every year that he needs somebody, but when I spoke to him about what would he want more, he was definitely for the admin, but even still, the 10,000 is not even gonna bring him a full seasonal worker. And I think what I had said also at one point was that instead of looking at the budget just right this moment in time, we have to look at next year's too. And I had come to the department head meeting because we had started talking about central purchasing and, you know, but, oh, I don't need that, chief. Oh, I don't need that. I mean, and not funding the police officer again presents risk. So I just think at this point, I don't really know what else to say yes to. I mean, we can't give, I mean, do we give Alan a half a person? A seasonal worker's already a half a person, so can you get a quarter? You know, so what do we do at this point? And then if we are gonna change, the job descriptions, that does affect people that are in those positions and having much more responsibility. And maybe it's not, can we just do like, you know, I don't know, 5? You know, I don't know. I'm asking you, I don't even know. So those are the last 2 items. Or do we just say nay to all of it and put the rest in stabilization? Or, thoughts?
well, you can partially fund that. It might
Partially fund.
partially fund a seasonal worker.
What would he do with that? Like how many, is that
He
an
would use
hour
it
a week
until it ran
or?
out, I guess. You know, he would use it until it ran out. But, you know, there's a little bit of.
I mean, he's not here to speak to that, so.
There's a little bit of slack here, which we're deliberately maintaining.
I would say we give it all to him,
So
let him work it.
that's beyond the 50,000 that the
Okay. That's fine.
advisory board will have for emergencies. We have
Right.
some other flexibility here that we, you know, case, we're doing worst-case scenarios in terms of funding for some of these items, and if it turns out better, then we have funds available, which obviously at the end of the year, we might have to move some funds around.
Well, I think too, that like you say, maybe not necessarily funding the whole part-time position, but if you
Something.
look at, he really needs, his crunch time is May. If we can just get him an extra person for,
But that won't happen until after
Yeah.
this budget's voted anyway,
right, well, this is for
so.
next year's budget,
Right, but,
so.
oh,
I'm
so
just
you're saying it would
that-
be, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Even if he only has, you know, instead of the whole season, even if he has somebody for that month of May is gonna be a big help.
So,
So,
Just,
is there a consensus on what to do here? 10,000 to Alan, or?
I would say 10,000 to Alan.
yeah, I'm,
Did you say save 10,000?
I would say
give, he
give it
wants,
to
you
Alan,
want,
yeah.
give 10, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Okay.
The
And then can we
remainder,
put the
balance.
rest to, you know, the BOS salaries and whatever else is, I mean, it's really nothing
I
else.
guess the last item is not,
The
in the
restoration
ballpark.
of the 9,000 for stipends, no.
Hmm?
I show there's only 93 left before
right,
giving the 10 to Alan.
right.
Oh, you show only 93 left before, oh,
Or
he has a
giving
different
10 to
number than you?
Alan.
Yeah.
Is that right? Is that what you had?
I cleared mine.
I didn't do any of it at all. Doug had a different number, so we don't even have 10,000 to
All right.
give?
Let's go back and do it again. You want to, I'll just announce the numbers that I'm putting in. I got 47, 411, minus 7308 for the clerk. minus 3,500. For the well monitoring, minus 892. Minus 6,557 for the cemetery and parks. Minus $1,000 for the cultural council. Minus 7,803 for the COA.
Yeah, he's right.
Minus 3,011. Minus 27. 27, again for library. Minus 1,500. That's for the tree warden. Minus 3,720.
Yeah, it is 93,
I got 93.
Yeah, so we can't
Yeah.
do 10 anyway.
You can't do 10. We're gonna save it anyway.
93.96, huh?
I guess so.
Well, there again, you know, if you,
I think you could put that into stabilization and then wait to see what happens with the veterans revolving fund
yep,
and
That's a
revisit it.
cumbersome thing, no?
Well, I think that's why I was saying, like, this isn't
Special
even,
Town meeting and get two-thirds vote
no,
to
it would
take
be at the
out.
fall.
I would recommend.
It would
we
be
give
at the
it to
fall,
Alan
and he
Mayo
wouldn't
and let
need him
him use
until
it.
this time of year anyway.
Right.
so we
So
can make
if-
corrections at the fall.
So we just
if
left
it-
that for right now,
But
and,
corrections you can do, by then we'll have free cash for the department, be able to make any corrections we need to make.
but free cash would be more for, we weren't gonna use any free cash to fund any part of an operating budget ever. That's what
But
we,
you're still gonna make adjustments.
not for, okay,
We're not funding the budget like it used to be, where you.
still wouldn't use free cash for that, though. That's, stabilization, capital planning, OPEB might be one thing because we haven't built on that, but, what?
We're gonna have, what do you anticipate we're gonna have with free cash?
It doesn't really matter, we don't have it now, and we
With the
can't
news,
rely on it.
with the news we got today that the work on fiscal 13 financial records may turn up a modest deficit. That's not encouraging. But I think, if you just think of the monies that we brought in, there's 414 sitting there from the tax title auction that we did. There's a couple of other big chunks of money I can't remember off the top, but, roughly, it is contingent on what happens with the audits, but I think we're in the $600,000 to $700,000 range.
So we're gonna have enough money to put away in stabilization and whatever else, and if we need a few $1,000s to make adjustments, we're gonna have it.
But I think, okay, when I spoke to, having an admin is gonna free up Alan to do some other things, is really what he said to me. And to just, I don't know, I would rather wait, and again, free cash for me would never go to any part of an operating budget, not even $800, not even, am I understanding that correctly? I just won't do that.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I'm saying there's slack in the budget that we presented
Yeah, I
here.
still think,
And a lot of the projections are worst case. If it turns out better, we have a little money we can move around in the fall.
we can do that after,
Right out of the budget.
is what I'm
So,
saying.
I don't think we ought to go down to bare bones either and spend
I think
everything we have.
I would rather just leave it.
Nobody's suggesting that, but I'm saying that out of 600,000, if we need a few thousand to make adjustments, it's not a big deal.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, I just.
Excuse me?
That's how you get where you are now.
That's not how we got,
Yeah, it is.
not we, the
No,
people
no,
that were
that's
in
how-
these chairs
right.
before us got in.
Right.
That's
That's
right.
exactly what happened. Using
All
free
right,
cash
all right,
for
enough,
your operating
enough,
budget.
enough. You can campaign
That's how this
elsewhere.
happened.
You can
No.
campaign elsewhere.
You're advocating
Excuse
for
me?
using free cash.
Wait a minute, wait a
to
minute.
supplement your operating budget.
You're out of
That's
order.
what you're saying.
You're out of order.
I don't think I am. I think I'm
Leave.
correct. In order.
You're out. Please leave.
I will.
Okay.
Gladly.
So I think we're done.
All right.
We'll incorporate these numbers into the document, and I assume that the selectmen are complete. And we'll get copies, updated copies to the advisory board, and post the budget on our website for everyone
So-
to review before the town meeting.
Are we leaving the 93, we're just gonna leave it alone and not put it anywhere?
That's what I heard, yes.
Leave it alone.
Okay, just because I know too, and I haven't, forgive me, advisory board, I read that email that was sent out, and I know they had a lot of questions, and I've been trying to like peek through, and I don't know if there's some things that, if they're correct in some of that, we're still gonna have some other budget issues. So I just don't want to bring it down to 0. And I think that, again, I'll say that, next year's budget, I think that we should really look at police officers' priority. Highway person is a priority, and that's really where my head would be at. Obviously, we'll have some possible new board members, but to not really look at a budget like just right now, and how is that gonna impact us in the future? And I hope that, based on the meetings that we've had for, the school budget subcommittee, they're really thinking strongly about doing things differently next year, and that maybe that will free up, some money that they really didn't need at the moment, is what they're saying. Well, not gonna argue that with you,
That's
I'm just
another-
saying in general,
No,
that,
I brought up that issue.
me too, and Raya.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying to, the risk to us to not, I wish that we could fund the police officer, that's huge.
Okay, we all set on the budget. All right, Chief Bennett.
Yes, very quickly, Holly brought to my attention that residents on Bridge Street would like a slow sign. I'm gonna get Bud, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, I'm gonna get with Bud, and we're gonna look at the situation, get a slow sign put up. Doesn't really need your approval, because I'm not changing any traffic patterns or anything of that nature. The big one is, met with the school building group, and we would like to move forward. It's my recommendation, I know the Bud's on board with this. We would like to move forward with the traffic pattern, proposed traffic pattern on South and Wellington. We're gonna come before the board in May with a full presentation. The group is gonna put up all temporary signs. They're gonna do the lineage, they're gonna put up barrels, they're gonna change the intersection. So we'll come before the board in May with an official presentation, and we're looking to do that sometime, I believe, in July. And we would change the traffic pattern. They want to get it changed before construction starts. It'll help with the contractors coming in and out of there. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention also.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the Bridge Street sign, Chief. I hear a lot about that.
Yeah, we're gonna get one.
From the
One or
folks
two
up
of
there.
them.
Yeah.
Is that on a road fix list? Can I ask? Like, is that, oh, good.
It's a proposed,
I just went and paid my electric bill the other day.
actually,
That's a rough road.
I've had some discussion about Bridge Street with the town
Oh,
administrator.
good, good.
We haven't made an official decision yet, but.
I feel bad for the people in the wheelchair.
Well, I get a lot of concerns expressed about people walking on the street there.
Yep, it's a lot of them.
All right, capital planning discussion.
Yeah, I asked for this to get on tonight's agenda because if we're going to present any articles at the town meeting, we'll have to vote on them before the warrant closes. So last week I went over all of the projects that the departments had requested. So for any capital project to move forward, it needs the approval of the Board of Selectmen. So if in fact we want to move any of these projects forward, we need to vote on it and we need to determine how we're going to fund it, debt exclusion or other means. Stabilization, capital stabilization, those are really our sources at this point because we don't have free cash that we can vote at this point in time. So that's why I think we needed to add the discussion, is because we would have to do it tonight if we're gonna move anything forward.
Okay.
So-
Do you have any suggestions?
No, I mean, all the departments had very good things. You know, again, we would have to do a debt exclusion for pretty much anything that we want. You know, probably, you know, Alan had talked about that master plan for the cemetery. You know, they're running out of space. You know, and they need to really have a plan before they just start arbitrarily digging or removing material. That was his number one priority. The COA had the siding as their number one priority. Emergency management had a pickup truck for their number one priority. The fire department has the Scott's air packs. Again, they're only looking for a portion of them this year, but we've already wasted 2 years for the opportunity to replace these. So that's their number one priority. And again, that's a life safety issue. They have to have these air packs for the firemen when they go into a fire. Highway department had a stainless steel sander as their number one priority. So those are the, you know, the most important things to the departments. So if we want to look at dollars, the cemetery master plan was $65,000. The COA siding is $65,000. The emergency management pickup would be $20,000. Scott Air Packs is $20,700, but that's just for 18 air packs, so that's
Right,
only
that's a
a
multi-year
third.
thing, right.
Right, that's a third of what they need.
Yeah.
So, but again, next year, it's now gonna have to be half, so it'll go to, you know, $30,000 instead of $20,000 if we don't do anything this year. And the highway department for,
Excuse me, Doug.
yeah, I was wrong, I did say
Okay.
it was the sander, it's not, it's
It's
the
not.
dump truck, or the,
A one-ton dump
yeah, the
truck.
one-ton dump truck, that's 55,000. Yeah, I drew my finger across the wrong, the wrong line, yeah. And the police department, I missed them last time too, has the officers' vests. So they're looking at 18. Now, they have a grant to get some, but the grant doesn't cover it all. And is it a matching grant, Chief? So in order for you to utilize the grant, we have to put in some money?
Yeah, town would have to purchase, or I would have to purchase them first, and then they release the funds.
Okay, so worst case scenario, we could just purchase what the grant is valued at, purchase that many, and then get that reimbursement without having to buy additional. I mean, I know you need more than what the grant's gonna cover.
Well,
Grant's
that
only gonna cover
18
about.
is the total amount of vests.
Yep,
We would only need 10. Or actually, yeah, 10 for the part-timers. I
Mhm.
outfitted the full-time employees this year.
okay,
Part-time employees they're even worse off than the full-time employees. I mean, they wear hand-me-downs, so they're wearing vests that are 10 years old.
yep. Yep, so again, that's another life safety issue there. So if I was to make any kind of recommendation, I would have to say that probably the Scott's Air Pack, since the fire department's already been asking for those for 2 years, and then the police officers' vests would probably be my two recommendations. But again, we either have to wait until the fall to find out if we're gonna have any free cash and fund them from that, or if we wanna do it in May, we would have to ask for,
Right, I was gonna ask,
For
do you
debt
have a source
exclusion.
of funding?
it would either have to be debt exclusion, stabilization, or capital stabilization. That's all we have
What do we
available
have
right
in
now.
the, in the stabilization accounts, do you know?
About 144.
About 144, okay.
So could we,
So with 144, yeah, we could
do both, right?
certainly do both of those, yeah. Because the Scott Air Packs, 20,700 for that. And the vests were 10,300. 10. So you're at like 31,000 for those two items. So then you've got, for the cemetery, it was 65,000. The COA was 65,000. Emergency management is 20. And highway is 55.
I think I'd rather see the vests and the Scott Air Packs be done knowing, I can't see this town wanting to deplete our stabilization, and neither do I. And I think those are life and safety issues, and that's one thing, and I think that I can't see us not having a fall town meeting, and then we would know more about free cash and where this money could come from, and I think those things, 2 years, we've been asking for that, and 10 years, that's insane, and I think we should have that.
Yeah, I don't wanna
think-
let
I
the
just
air
wanna
packs go
see-
another year.
No, we can't. So those two things, it's minimal, and we're working towards everything minimal. I don't mean minimal like that, I mean minimal money. And the other, we need that stuff, but to have a good plan and to have a capital planning committee that actually convenes, has a quorum, and, I mean, these are recommendations, and I know it's just been you and Kate, but I just, again, I don't wanna deplete our funds, but I think these two things are a good thing to have.
Yeah, I would agree
with
that if we-
Diane.
Yeah, do
I
these
mean,
now.
Those two are the more important.
Yeah,
ones.
and because we know something's coming, but it's just, you're waiting, and I'm sorry, and
No, it's okay.
never like to say any of that kind of stuff, but it's,
I agree.
those really,
I agree.
you know, and with emergency management, in my opinion, I think that we need to decide first, what are we doing about that building, before we ever give them any equipment. That's my opinion, I work with the CERT team, and I just think there's some things that are needed there, and I don't know that we've ever really looked at that, definitively, like even like what we're looking at Scout Hall, so, me personally, I'd rather just stop right there and not
Okay,
go
so
any further.
We're gonna do
This
the,
would come from
all right,
stabilization.
the vest and the air packs.
And the air packs,
for
yeah.
Stabilization.
Yeah, and that's
Can
it.
you write an article for,
Mr. Chair, if I could,
yes, sir.
the vest, because I was just on I just renewed the federal grant last Friday. For 10 vests, it would be $6,950.
You're better.
Yeah,
And then after we pay that, the feds, it takes a little while because it's the feds, but we would get $34.75 back.
yeah. So we still
So
have
we
to
really-
appropriate the entire
We have to
6,000.
appropriate the 6.
Yeah, the 69.
We're the bank for the federal government and the state government,
Did
more
you,
and more.
did you have that fingerprint device on here?
No, we don't want to, that's,
That's nothing?
we can look at it when free cash is available, but I
That's his
wouldn't
number
want to.
3. Yeah, that was his number 3 priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just asked if it was on there.
Hey, Diana, you can get a chance to,
That's all right. Did we ever hear from the light company whether they were gonna fund a project or,
Lights.
Okay, so I'll just speak to that. We have not really discussed that as a board. It's been brought up, but fund a project. That's an interesting proposition, because we're a board and they're a board, and we don't get to tell their board what to do. And I'm not being sarcastic, that should be whatever they're gonna give to us, I wish we could just set an amount, and they pay for our lights, amen. But we should talk about what project, because we could do some other stuff, but they wanna fund like a road project, thanks anyway, but I'd rather have Bud tell us what to do for a road, and decide that as a board, so we've never really taken that conversation any further. I know that Bob's been having discussions, I've asked about that too, but that just seems to stir up like a hornet's nest, so,
Okay,
But I wish
retract
that-
my question.
sorry, love.
That's okay.
Well, the default,
All right.
if we
Chief?
don't come up with a project that they like, the default is a request for streetlights
Right.
and
so-
municipal buildings, which adds up to somewhere in the high 40,000 range.
That suits me.
Yeah, Chief.
If it would help, we have a pickup truck up at Center Station, it's a Dodge, it's a federal excess property truck that we could let the emergency management crew use. And
Okay.
that would take 20,000 off your list. At least, it's a short-term fix, it's an old truck, it needs work, but it's running currently.
I think they just don't have a lot, I don't think we give them a big budget to do anything
We've got
with,
no
so.
budget to do it.
Right, and they're using their personal.
We gave them
vehicle.
zero, oh, I'm sorry, we gave them zero, so we have nothing to fix it with, chief.
Well, I've actually been fixing it out of the fire department budget for
Okay,
the
great.
blue